What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the Bullpen, a show that features debates that don't take 2.5 hours. Is that not good enough? Should I do another one? Welcome to the Bullpen, a show that probably won't bring up Hitler. You want me to keep doing it? I got plenty. There's a lot of shit going on in this world. Let's be very clear about a few things about what we're good at here and not great at in MMA. What we have panel discussions on the widest range of topics possible. And we're happy to have these discussions. But it looked like this week, people were trying to infringe upon our territory. I would say with some negative results. Nonetheless, welcome the Bullpen adventure between the Grappling Out and Inside BJJ. And here, also not bringing up Hitler, is one Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. He is the last person I will bring up. I can guarantee that. There's a fine art to talking smack, especially talking smack on the internet. You got to leave it to the professionals, guys like myself, guys like Raph, and guys like our co-host Kevin Sherrill. It's great to be here, Raph. I'm stoked to be back one more time.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and let's jump to our third co-host who says he's own research. One, Kevin Sherrill. Kevin, what has the research told you, sir?
Yeah, I haven't come to a conclusion about the shape of the Earth, but I can tell you this: it's not round.
You know, okay. Hey, listen, I'm just throwing out.
That's what YouTube told me. It's what YouTube told me. I've cleaned out YouTube. I'm not
so sorry.
Certain shape it is, but it's definitely not round.
See, these ears are very. Diction and syntax made it seem like you were saying you too showed me, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Don't put that shit on.
Raph Esparza.
I was checking my texts. I'm like, oh, I did tell him that. That's right. Sorry.
Seconds ago, before we went live on the air, there was like a mini pro-me diatribe I went on. This doesn't happen a ton on this show. I felt I was within my right to take some credit for something. So when you're like, two showed me this, I was like, no.
Immediately throw you under the bus the second we're live.
Yeah, no, please don't that. Well, gentlemen, formalities aside, listen, we put the order a certain way for the board, but it appears that the community has too much energy and a response that we will go out of order here. And when you see the order, you may understand why. So I'm going to go and go. Yeah, let's do the one you probably want to talk about. Tim titled this one three-way. I don't know what it is, what it is. Nonetheless, if you guys...
Who's the unicorn?
Who's the unicorn here?
Who's the unicorn? Not that I know anything about that, but who's the unicorn?
Oh, God damn it. Okay,
who's the third?
We're losing topics here, Kevin. I want to give you time to respond to this. In fact, I'm putting the clock back on because we're trying to race this episode. But here we go. On, what was it, Wednesday of this week, there was a so-called debate between Tom DeBlas and Dan on one side and Greg Souders on. Now, why they needed people to do a debate but they were looking for moderators and ended up with themselves. At some points, it did seem like people thought that Big Dan was moderating. Sure didn't look that way. And especially we're looking for somebody who didn't have any sort of bias. So they had people who could have been moderators, and yet they ended up with none. I'm going to let both of our gentlemen here take a stab at telling us how that went from their opinion, some other observations. And for that, I'm actually resetting the clock again. And I know Kevin's chomping at the bit to feel his feels on this one because we definitely had discussion during the pre-show. Kevin, what were your thoughts of that debate?
So I watched 20 minutes of it. I watched almost exactly, I think it's 20 minutes and a couple of seconds. I got through 20 minutes of it, and through 6 different occasions, someone asked someone else to outline their position. I said, all right. Greg asked Big Dan, hey, what do you think my position is? Can you define constraints-led approach to me. Can you? And then Tom asked Greg his position twice. Greg asked someone their position twice. He asked Tom his position. Nobody answered. Nobody actually answered. Big Dan got the closest where he started constraints-led approach, and Greg interrupted him twice. So we never actually got an answer. Nobody answered any questions. The fact that they came into a debate, go, hey, what are we arguing about? What do you think my position is? Nah, you're wrong. It's not actually my position. Was incredibly frustrating. After the 6th time it happened, I turned the debate off. I said, this is a waste of my time. This is everybody else's time. This is not actually about the merit of these ideologies and these methods. This is just a bunch of people measuring their egos. This is Tom. This is Greg. I'm not going to throw Big Dan under the bus because he didn't seem like he actually, like, I think once he seemed like in 20 minutes that when he realized it wasn't going to be a productive discussion, he kind of backed off, had his little drink and was sipping on it. But at least Tom and Greg, this was just egos. That's all it was. It was them two coming in on Tom. I didn't like, he even says it at one point, I didn't like how you seem to come at Danaher and our DVDs and that. And I was like, cool, that has nothing to do with constraints-led approach at all. And it's, Greg is sitting there and all he seemed to want to do was to let Tom know that, like, because he didn't outline his own, not championing the view of constraints-led approach in 20 minutes. He never once talked about what he supposedly believes, which is this is the best way to train. He didn't actually outline that for anyone. He wasn't using the platform to help people. He just wanted to make Tom look dumb and tell the internet how smart he is. Incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating. I turned it off.
Thank you for that. Tim, can you do a favor? Can you outline my perspective on what I was thinking about that debate?
I'm almost certain you were thinking it was a gigantic time, and at the same time, you might have dislocated your shoulder, patting yourself on the back for training 2 goons who are on the bullpen with you.
Stop. Full stop.
I could have been.
Full stop, Tim. Full stop. Okay. When I respond to this, I want to let you know first we have to define what goons are. So we can't just talk about 2 goons.
The nature.
Listen, both of you, shut up, guys. I've done the okay, so full stop. And
Listen,
I know
I don't know if you've seen the book.
What 2 goons like. And yeah, do I do a show willing?
What have you ever gooned?
But I guess the question is, when you goon, do you immerse yourself in the goon culture, or hear me out, do you just keep arguing with no direction?
And these are mutually exclusive, opposing methodologies.
Absolutely.
And we have to acknowledge that. Tim, I've got a number I'm thinking of in my head. Would you like to? I'd like you to guess it.
Well, I like the fact that
No,
you're
that's
thinking
not
of
it.
a
That's
number.
not it. I thought you would think that. If you'd like me to explain to you what number it was, I can do that for you. But for now, I won't be.
Here's your time. What was overall in the debate, sir?
I like to watch things like that other than the debate. Like, I'm not tuning in to hear these guys settle anything. I'm tuning in to see the personalities of class. I would rather see Tom DeBlas himself. And I love Tom DeBlas. I'm a big Tom DeBlas guy. I want to see Mean Streets Tom DeBlas debate emotionally unstable Tom DeBlas. Also, because this is a debate, I'm going to see I love Tom DeBlas. I can get here and debated. I could shake a magic and get the answer to this in about 3 seconds. I don't need to be 3 goons on the internet talking about basically that's what they were doing. Just the favor, man, not that situation. And I think we need to. I think it's man. Let's just roll and have fun. That's the whole.
Bring up a good about it. Like you offensive. You don't the way. I need to tell you how I feel about what this. Just present my quick because kind of first of all, a debate. That like right. No, because you're up to something where we'll have deep-seated belief. There's no strength that allows for wants or for rating points. What pointed is trying is just you like and enjoy success. Summarize here. I think that will be mergingness of approach by people for a period of time is kind of kinship training. It might be that they were so in deep they now are where they can freely train how they want to. It was something that Jason Nolf actually put in the comment section. He said, why not learn drilling and then just start to play games as you get more experience? I think that's a fair point. Clearly, that was not expressed. What you have on the other side is a definition of the status. Well, drillings work for all these people because Hodger. Bam. Hashtag Hodger. Like, the weird part of this, it's appealing to these guys who are high level right now. I think there may be something more to it. So really what we're not trying to do is debate its merits per se or who's right or wrong. You might just be trying to articulate why people have alternatives to what it is that they currently know. It occurred to me when they had no moderator, this was going to be the inmates running the asylum. That's what it felt like. Having said that, is there a possibility a debater or a moderator could have helped? I think there were a few people who were enlisted, not myself, and granted, would have done it. I also didn't want to audition for it and try to tell you why I think I'm worthy for it. Like, just ask me to do it, I'll do it. And don't want me to do it. There were a lot of people on there who I thought could have been just fine, including our good friend, the commish of PGF, Brandon. He seemed really eager to do it. And at least he would have tried to get to the actual point of the whole thing. But I want to kind of circle to this. I actually think this works better as a series of individual interviews because I think you have to get a better articulated point for Greg Saunders because I feel like some people think that they are over-intellectualizing jiu-jitsu and they have feelings of it. On the other side, for Tom DeBlas, I think their perspective is these people have won, but the question I have is what happens when those people don't win? Or to the extent that maybe an emerging new approach starts to get more champions or people who are very good at jiu-jitsu that we all agree, like the Rotolos and Gianni Grippo, who are starting to have success with it. Will that mean their argument goes away entirely? These are questions that I had, and none of them were answered. And I felt like you felt, which was a lot of people just got in the comment section to make fun of the other side, which happened. But having said that, don't call it a debate. Everybody chill the fuck out. And if you need to train jiu-jitsu, train how you like. I just don't think this debate is going anywhere anytime soon. I think people are going to be in the comment sections for, oh boy, a long time. I don't think it's going to stop. So anyway, that's my thoughts. All right, gentlemen, let's very quickly take this element. We just debated, if you would, the merits of the debate. I feel like there's a better way we could potentially show people or demonstrate. There was a segment we had on the show where we do a thing. What do we have a segment?
Yeah, I think we do. I think I know where this is going. We do have a segment like that. We need to
stop. Do you think or do we know we have a segment? I need you to define. I need a definitive answer from you.
Kevin, I don't know what you mean by define. Can you define, please?
Can you define for me? Let's talk about the nature of information.
All right, that's good enough. Let's go to our debate. What we're witnessing is real. The participants are not actors. They are not skilled enough to be actors. They are actual hosts litigating on behalf of the athletes and the audience of the PGF at an undisclosed underground court in Las Vegas, in LA. Both parties agreed to dismiss the internet and settle their disputes here at Bullpen Court. Hey, that was a little bit better. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a segment we like to call Bullpen. where today these two gentlemen will actually try to have the debate of econess versus drilling. Starting us off today is going to be returning champ. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to go with Tim first. Tim, you were going to lead us off here. Last time, if people remember, kept a lot riding on this. But I'm going to ask you, Tim, which is the better approach? The ecological form of jiu-jitsu or drilling form? We start with you. Time is going to be on the clock. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, most honorable Esparza. You look very good today. I just want to throw that out there. You look very nice. Your glasses, your hair, everything looks put together.
Thank you.
Kevin. Listen, I am a big proponent of ecological jiu-jitsu. The main thing that I want to stress is that ecological jiu-jitsu allows you to discover how your body does the moves without somebody else constraining you to do it a particular way. So you get to discover how it works for you. If you have a problem, then you can bring that problem to your coach and go, hey, every time I do this, this happens. And then your coach can go, hey, try it this other way instead. Oh, great. I'll never forget that because I had a problem you solved. If you teach a strict drill methodology, you're teaching solutions to problems that students don't know they have yet. And so they don't remember the solution. They continue to bastardize, for lack of another word, the technique when they actually do it. Ecological allows them a path to discover the technique on their own terms in their own way. Hence, it's not forgotten, but it's kept and it's part of their jiu-jitsu. And then if they have future problems, they can be refined later.
Thank you for that, Tim. We appreciate your opening statement and noted for the official record. Thank you. Kevin, what is your response on to this? Your opening statement begins now.
Yeah, I'm championing traditional training methodologies. The primary difference between traditional training methodologies and a constraints-led approach is value of drilling and whether drilling has any value. They both have live rounds. They both have situationals. We all agree that they have value, right? It's about drilling. Static drilling is extremely valuable. You see it at the highest levels of every major money sport. You see baseball players putting time on stage. You see basketball players, they talked about this in the debate, and they're an hour before to get shots up, going ahead and killer, static, stable, not against any sort of disruption or whatever, to get in a rhythm. And then they move into more complex drills. You see boxers do shadow boxing, they hit. This is done always, and I believe that all of those people are wrong, or that they do something with, they have found success and they find value in that.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to go ahead and start right now with cross-examination. To begin, Kevin Sherrill, you will argue and take the cross-examination time to break down Tim's arguments. Kevin?
Tim, do you believe drilling has value?
Constraint.
Okay, so if our constraints were say that you should drill this knee cut, and I'm constraining you to the knee cut that I showed you, do you think you would get good at that knee cut if you time in?
Are you saying that drilling is constraints based?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying constraints based is the way then? You just said ecological was
I'm saying that
constraint-based, and now
everything
you're
has
saying
constraints.
it's
If we're just
constraint-based.
defining ecological as it has constraints, then driving on the highway is ecological.
Well,
Methodology. Listen, getting repetitions has value. Do you getting shot for a game in basketball? Do you believe that warming up with shadow box things are foolish?
no, I do not. I'd be happy.
Agreement.
Tim,
Would you say the constraint that you apply? So a player thing that is a cool or to fund lack of a better. Would you agree with that? And I go actually 4 strengths for the performance jiu-jitsu.
I'm not sure on the constraint.
Do you believe that you, Matt, and be a good girl?
Oh no.
You now do you have 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. Go.
Thank you. I think it's quite now that drilling is really just a form of constraints-based jiu-jitsu. It just has a lot of constraints. And accept that, as does my opponent Kevin, who also labeled constraints-based jiu-jitsu as ecological jiu-jitsu, then it's mostly all ecological tighten or a loosening of the constraints. Drilling in itself helpful because it is constrained, but it's not, as Kevin mentioned, to actually make grappler. You have to relax the constraints and compete or practice with somebody with relaxed constraints to get a real life scenario of what it's like to grapple. That's what we roll. We have very few constraints. So we're constrained already. I think people see that ecological is the way to pure drill get you where you need to be in terms of being a grappler. It's just one little small piece spectrum of constraints-based ecological jiu-jitsu.
Thank you for that.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Thank you. We appreciate that clarity. We now go to you, Kevin, for your closing statement.
Yeah, I totally agree that drilling is enough to get you to an elite level. However, when we started the argument, we talked about ecological being opposed to drilling. Missing component 5 will have base. It's static drilling and the value of thorough conversation about concepts are the 2 things in the ecological approach that are seen as not having value. My point is that they do. Static drilling will get you to a certain point. If you're trying to start out in jiu-jitsu, if you're advanced, you can kind of be shown a move, you can hit it live, maybe against that white belt, that blue belt, that more predictable roll, you can create the situation. But even complex maneuvers, it does help to rep it without resistance initially. This happens at the highest level. There's very few people that can be shown something for the first time ever and get the most value out of it. It's a fundamental part. It does the largest part. You can vary the value of it, but you need it.
Thank you for that, gentlemen. Well, we appreciate both of your kind words and your argumentation. I like the idea that you're able to elaborate a point, but I want to get to my ruling very quickly. We have broken new ground here on the show. 1, the amount of that happened in the show was alarmingly low for this episode. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because you saw some other stuff this week and you said, well, maybe if we try it for reals, we should try to argue and show people how it should be done. But it did throw me off because it was legitimately me being like, when I have to flow your arguments, I sit there and go, oh, let's figure this out. What is Tim saying? Oh, he's making jokes. That's not point. Okay, that's an example. That's not quite the thesis. It takes me a second. This one was you guys both being like, hello, my name is Tim Freeman. I will be point today. A example of point. And I thought, where the fuck did this come from? So it definitely was jarring to watch this debate. And I have to say this. we're breaking new ground in that, gentlemen, you both won. And here, it's
I'm
because
taking
the two of you together actually 2.5 hour debate that happened between Greg Saunders, Tom DeBlass, and Dan, because I watched it for a too long period and I have no idea what any of them were arguing. So because of that, you showed it how it could be done in 9 minutes. Congratulations to the both of you, gentlemen.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go.
So we could say that technically our debate beat their debate.
Yeah.
They didn't know they were debating our debate, but our debate beat their debate.
I mean, we both won. They lost.
Okay. Got it. That's all I wanted.
That's
to
what
clarify.
Raph just awarded us. We collectively beat them.
And me as the judge also won.
Solid W.
Yeah. Because there was structure to it, and then at the end of it, you guys weren't trying to kill each other. At the end of this, I have to send a text to Tim being like, "Hey man, I really respect you, bro. Even though it may seem like I don't respect you all that much, we can have differing opinions." And I think that's the weirdest part of this whole thing is at the very end of it, they put up this author and they say, "Hey guys, just so you know, we each other." And I thought that okay, sounds good. So did we do all of that for no reason? Are people arguing online for no reason? It just feels like inciting a mob to then say like, "Mob, chill, Daddy, chill." So anyway, there's that. All right, let's do this. Evan, you need to get out. I'm told. Yeah. We'll let you get on out that way. Do a solid. Say hello to our good friend Chris Wojcik, and Godspeed to your ankles.
I want to make him and Dia bring their hour to Chris's seminar tomorrow. That picture. Make sure you shout out for GFL, the GFL one. Make sure you shout out Douglas Lima's in that. They signed him.
Diego in it, right?
Douglas.
Douglas. Okay.
Douglas.
I thought I saw Diego, but also I'm getting to it. So thank you for that, sir. Appreciate it.
Peace, guys.
Later.
All right, Tim, we're going to take a second here to just recalibrate the board. All of you go away. You're going to see an empty board here. But fear not, you will see the main board come in 3, 2, even before promised here. And as we do this, we did get a couple comments. And the first comment I want to kind of shape back to was this. Egg, wow, I missed 3-way. Seems to always happen to me.
That'd be a funny bit.
So, do you see why I had resistance to that one name for this? Because you get stuff like this. You put it out there on the internet, and then this is what happens. So I blame you for this one, sir.
I would argue, now that I'm in debate mode, this is actually better. I think it's actually good.
Oh, for sure it's not better. And this is not a matter of taste. This is a matter of you cannot look at this and think to me that this, you know what, you can't argue my point for me. Other people have tried. You can't be like, Raph, I'm pretty sure. Wait, what do you feel about this? Yeah, I knew that's wrong. So what I'm saying to you is that I don't know that this is 100% the comment I wanted to be our gold standard, but nonetheless, Wallow J said he watched 1 minute and 57 seconds of it and went back to watching The Golden Girls, which honestly, obviously a classic, amazing show. It was not the show I thought you were going to drop reference here. And it says, if you lob it up, we have to knock it out of the park. See, Tim, the Lemmings are telling you led them off the cliff. This was you.
I know.
All right.
It's good, man. It's good.
Earlier,
when I wrote that topic down, I really wanted to slip it in. I'm like, I hope Raph doesn't catch this. And you caught it. You just already had peppered the board, and it was a little too late to pull it back. So I sent one in under the wire.
The worst part is we were under a little bit of a time deadline, if you would. And I was like, I already put it in. It's in. Like, I have certain codes and rules that I have to follow where I'm like, nope, it's there, so we got to go. Let's start with this. Tim, you tell me what exactly took place, because I think I saw it on the internet and it didn't really strike out to me, but it is something that is worthy and worth noting that happened. Pit submission, sir.
So we had Pit Submissions 11 that took place in Miami as part of the Karate Combat promotion. And it had a few guys on the card, but really the big thing that jumped out was Daniel Sattler was featured, I believe, in the first grappling match of the event against Ansar Kamzat. And it was a decent match. I thought Sattler won the match. Some people think that Kamzat won. Takedowns against the pit wall, but Sattler's grappler. He was the guy that was pushing the submissions, pushing the action. I sent you a picture of the standing crucifix he had Kamzat in. It was a fun match to watch. After the match, Sattler, who is a very emotional fighter, he's very engaged, he's high energy, he's not going to let anything slide, especially there's some shit talking going on. And I could see in watching it, he started putting his chin up, like, go ahead, take your shot, and Kamzat's coach comes from around the side, and this big ass hand comes through and bam, takes a at Sattler, and it just grazed him a little. Sattler did a little Philly shell move and kind of rolled with it and didn't take the full brunt of it. And then the ref jumped in and was like, no, can't do that here. This karate, we don't hit each other. So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was made for some good TV in terms of watching a submission match, which often turns out kind of boring. You know what I'm saying? In other matches there, Fabricio lost to Samuel Nakai. That match went the distance. And then we saw Lance Palmer edge out Richie Lewis. They had 3 grappling matches on the card. Entertaining stuff. Pitt does make for an entertaining match. Even better as to slap somebody after the match.
I oddly saw the headline for the slap, not anything about the match. It was just literally like, oh, did you see they kind of slapped each other? And I go, oh, the rest of the match not cool? Or like, what are we talking about here? Like, it literally was just like a match happened, but slap. And I thought, oh, was it good? So I'm glad to get a better account of it, because honestly, they seem to enjoy that over on that side. And to their credit, they fucking shut that shit down fairly quick, but they'll let them go right to the edge. Like, they're looking like Will Ferrell playing Ric Flair on Eastbound and Down. And
yeah.
Yeah. And it was certain up it. You hit. Occurred to me, though. Like, show. They're nice. Figure facts. And there's this. It was just like, oh, this happened to him. Sort of. But I'm like, it's nice to me. I don't. And part of it's kind of case. Even if like you is there evidence of like you got the place to go to settle it right there. It's time. So I'm bear that form of thing.
No, I think you hit it. And there's a nice guy. Pretty intense.
Yeah.
It might be how young
Enough topic, which is going to be a Tim there, I believe, qualified happened. What was the latest in the season, sir?
So, things with Jet Thompson to be, and he's to get to that 5 mark is kind of hasn't been GFL. He perennial student, traveled all over, all kinds of competitions, super competent. It will be very interesting to see GF here for me. At the all that I've heard, but I'm hearing that there are some patients pack dry in much or already finished ramification of the draft. So we'll see what comes out of that. This is I'm not positive, but I'm hearing rumblings about this. I'm also hearing some rumblings about potentially having another do something that would have. These are just some ideas that I've heard around. Again, it's all stuff, but I will say this. One thing you can expect out of the PGF is that they're going to continue to modify their format and the things that they do. And when they do it, they're towards entertainment, leaning away from this has to be a pure reputation of the sport. And they're leaning towards this has to be fun to watch. It has to be exciting, has to get the athletes pumped up and create a great show. So any modifications they can make moving in that direction, I would expect them to pull the trigger on it and make it happen. I'm pumped for season 8. It's coming up real soon, man. So I can't wait.
Thank you. We kind of know some stuff that we're not at liberty to disclose. They are state secrets. I've not brought them to my house as declassified yet. I may. But having said that, Tim, like the stuff that we do know, and we don't even know all of it, is very exciting. And when you talk about the entertaining aspect, I think that's the part people don't associate with this yet. You know, a lot of times people are trying to gamify rules, and it sounds like they're taking very, very serious extent to make sure that it is done for people at home to be entertained and to enjoy this product. So if that's maybe a little bit of a direction that we can give you, a lot of those things have already taken place. What I'm telling you is gameplay may change a little bit in terms of what you feel you've seen before and what may be down the line. So if there's any hint I can give you, I feel like that's the one. Speaking of things that are happening all around the world, Tim, there's also a GFL, as if there's not enough going on in this world. Dana White this week was saying that the GFL is not of concern to him, which is oddly the weirdest shit I have ever heard Dana White talk about with another organization. Normally, it's you bring it up and you think of PFL. Yeah, a piece of shit over there. That fucking shit's dumb. I fucking hate that. As opposed to the GFL. Yeah, okay, I don't see him as competition. I think it's great. It may be the one time that we are seeing a true retirement division, a master's division for our favorites, and a few sprinkled in young guns. But the average age, last time I checked, was somewhere in the region of 44 to 46 years old. And having said that, Tim, what can you tell us about the GFL and what should we be keeping an eye out for, sir?
Listen, I think there's a huge market to see these retired, let's say retired. Maybe they're not quite at the point where you want to see them in the UFC, but they still have a lot of mileage available to them, and there's still compelling, exciting matchups to watch. Big names. These guys, one or two big names. Oh, okay, they got this guy. They got a whole roster of big names. Just to read a few, right off: Alan Belcher, Alexei Olnik, Theo Verdum, Andre Arlovsky, Frank Mir, Greg Hardy. These are all stars. These guys are stars. They didn't just retired bums oh yeah, you were 3-5 in your MMA career. We're going to sign you for GFL. They got bona fide champions in this league. I'm super excited to see it. They're going to present it in a team format. I believe there's 6 teams in different cities. They're going to have a tournament that works down into a quarterfinal, semifinal, finals style matchup for guys. They're going to for their medals. They're paying the athletes. It seems like a good fit for athletes who still want to continue to fight, but maybe can't do it in caliber required in the UFC. It's also a good opportunity for young guys who maybe get overlooked by a big organization to and have some matches against these tough guys. Yeah, they're a little bit older, but they're still tough as hell, and you could learn a lot from it. So I think it's a great format. I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to be highly entertaining, and I think it's going to be a hit. I think it's going to be a bigger hit than what.
I just have to say how I feel this whole aspect of it. I feel slightly betrayed, and let me explain why. Tony Ferguson should be retired, not retired in the GFL. Chris Weidman said he was retiring. But from the UFC. He's there. Play Guida in the GFL. So I keep hearing all these where we had this whole pomp and circumstance of like, thank God, these guys. We love you. You're legends. Enjoy. Happy retirement into another organization. You're back. Yay! It didn't matter. What we did was bullshit. And I know that sometimes comes down to contractual things. I know sometimes it's the right time, opportunity. It's just with Tony Ferguson, especially in particular. I don't know that I want him fighting anymore. I have not felt good watching him fight. I am not in charge of him. I have no say whether he fights. I understand all these things. Nonetheless, I don't feel good watching him fight. And I can't get away from that element. So for me to say these things, and for you, do you not feel somewhat in the same way?
Yeah, I do. I love Tony Ferguson, and I don't want to see him because I don't think it's good for his health. It's not because I don't think he can fight or he's not tough. He was one of my favorite fighters to watch. But there are some athletes who, out of concern for their health and their future health, should probably step away from the sport altogether. Now, maybe the GFL is an off-ramp for some of these guys to help ease them into retirement. I think it is extremely, it's like the rest home for MMA athletes. It's boy. Hospice. Look, I don't know what else to say. You gotta, these guys, they can't turn it off. They're like regular people where you're like, now you're retired and go sit at home all day. You can't do it. They miss the war too much. They want to go back. If they can't even go to a UFC event and watch a homie compete, they miss the war too much. They want to get in the fight. They get the itch. Maybe something the GFL is a step them down into retirement, protect their health a little bit. Maybe we make them wear headgear. I don't know, man. I'm with you, though. There are some guys I definitely do not want to see fight just because I care about them as human beings. But at the same time, it's hard for them to turn it off. So I understand why they do it.
Okay. Well, listen, I have to express that. Having said that, I root for new organizations and opportunities for our friends. We have a lot of friends who did get opportunities with that. I don't quite understand the regional aspect. Like, most of the people who got drafted just already kind of live in those destinations. So it got kind of weird when they're like, and the LA team. I was like, I think they mostly all live here or can very easily get here. They're like, and the Europe team. And I was like, let me guess. They live there too. Oh, and the Brazil team. Oh, look at that. So I didn't know quite why we had to do a formalized draft. You should have just already had those people. Like, you Brazil, come here. I wanted to bring up one other thing with the GFL, which is I don't quite understand where we're seeing it yet in terms of where it will air. So there's a lot of questions I have that I know will time, but I am slightly nervous because not announcing a TV partnership is a big way to send a signal like, do I have to pay for this? Because I don't want to pay for it. And if I mean I have to pay for it, is my cable paying for it? Or do I have to do like a pay-per-view per event? Because it sounds not enticing. Nonetheless, we find out as we go. If even their feelings on it. But I do want to go to our next topic. So I'll go ahead and bring this up to you. But Tim, we have a friend. His name is Brian Peterson. If you guys ever see any of the clips for the Grappling Hour or even for this show, he does an excellent job of cutting those clips. And every year, around the time the Royal Rumble happens, he actually does a PowerPoint presentation. To bring civilians up to the world of professional wrestling so that they can understand what is going on. So his words, not mine. Hey, do you guys need some sort of information about the Royal Rumble? And I said, I don't know in particular. And he goes, oops, I've already made one. So as a result of that, he has sent this video to us. I have not proofed it. I do not know what the contents of it, but nonetheless, we are playing it, and Godspeed. What Brian Peterson has to inform the rest of you, civilians or uneducated, about tomorrow night's Royal Rumble.
Chief Assistant Director of Social Media and Marketing for Grappling Hour. I do have a BJJ black belt as well as a replica WWE US title belt. And I think that makes me uniquely qualified to give you the following pitch. And that pitch is why we absolutely need a Royal Rumble in Jiu-Jitsu. So you might be wondering, why do we even need a Royal Rumble? Isn't grappling doing great? And I'm here to tell you that we can take it to the next level using a technique that we've used for years. If you look at events in the past like Finishers Money in the Bank, taking inspiration from WWE Money in the Bank, or the ever-popular Quintet, looking just like a Survivor Series match, from for years. If we're going to do a Royal Rumble. Okay, so you might be thinking, what even is a Royal Rumble? Basically, it's a match where you have 30 competitors. They each come out to the ring at separate times. You're going to eliminate people by throwing them out of the ring, and the last one there is getting qualified for a main event title shot at the biggest event of the year, WrestleMania. Now, there's a lot of similarities between that and what we already have in Jiu-Jitsu. Both ADCC and the PGF have qualifiers. They already actively encourage throwing people off the mat, and they both have a main event show that everyone's trying to get to, essentially making ADCC Worlds akin to WrestleMania. The only difference is that WrestleMania, isn't being bankrolled by money from the Middle East. So you might be thinking, are grappling fans really ready to accept a Royal Rumble rule set into the culture? And I think that the sport is really heading in the direction that rewards a lot of the staples of the Royal Rumble event. For example, we have returning legends coming back from out of nowhere to showcase their skills like they never missed a beat. We have an encouragement to throw our opponent off of the legal competition area. And of course, a staple of both the Royal Rumble and Jiu-Jitsu events is unexpected catastrophic leg injuries. Honestly, I'm surprised we haven't had a Royal Rumble event already. Okay, so let's say that we do have this event. Who's going to be in this? Who's going to win? Well, I think we need to look at the favorites for the Men's Royal Rumble this weekend to kind of get an idea of what types of people are going to be here. Starting off, maybe you've heard of him. His name is John Cena. We all know him as an aging freestyle rapper, so that's a start. Seth Rollins is the second favorite. He's a Midwest hippie if I've ever seen one. Maybe the most accomplished grappler of the bunch, CM Punk, a Master 4 blue belt and former UFC fighter. And finally, we have Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, a noted MMA impersonator. And I think if we take all of these archetypes together, we're really looking at every blue belt line at every gym I've ever trained at. So I think the odds of getting some professional grapplers in here is pretty good. But Brian, what about a women's division? Well, it's jiu-jitsu, so I'm sure we'll get there in about 10 to 15 years. So that brings me to my big question. Who do you think from the grappling world is going to dominate a jiu-jitsu Royal Rumble? Thanks for having me.
I just had an interview with the CEO of Handsomeness, and they
the fact that the call-up still lives is my favorite thing. We'll have to return that. Did we tell Kevin that Ben challenged him? I didn't remember if we did officially do that.
I don't think we did.
Because
I
he
don't
didn't
think
show
we did.
up. So I was like, oh, it got lost in the sauce. So my apologies. We'll get back to that in a second. Nonetheless.
By the way,
go ahead.
Brian Peterson, thank you. That was fucking amazing, man. I love the approach. I love the slideshow.
Yep.
I love the comparing it up against the Quintet and Survivor Series. Dead on. He's right. I was like, oh shit, didn't even think about that. He's right. The Money in the Bank one was
Call it. I know. Never an unsaid thing. I'm like, I'm just trying not to get my boy sued. So,
yeah.
But like the first time it came up, I was like, oh, are you guys calling it SummerSlam? Like, can you? You do. And I acknowledge. Blah. Now to the question.
Then you might 15 guys gonna get tanked. Looking at boys, and I think you're looking at guys like big shot of being Nick is fan faith out of Murray. He's got to be in the or there's no way that needed have a couple balls is that you don't a guy like AJ he's hanging around real like a you get rid tough good and come over the hangs on definitely I see there in the maybe I think they gang up on Gordon real early, dump him over the side, goes out to dinner, doesn't even pay for the whole event. So that's my take. Big Dan, Nicky Rod.
Big Nicky also where are you message tomorrow for the fight companion. Why don't you? I will come up with a don't have a hand. I think that so I'm very proud. I think Big Show where he's like an actual threat eliminated. We're like eliminate like four, but is that I think I and I can't the Royal Rumble where already it's submitted. I feel like there's a where they do the wilds they have, but that like and like a WJ con in the near future. So we're pitching that tomorrow. The act goes down. And that. Nonetheless, in that place, crazy. You know, like sometimes the right people end up finding their way to you. Like, oh, let's see what Ryan's like. Is he a well-adjusted black belt? Nah, he's crazy too. Yeah, he's gonna get along just fine with us here at the pin the week. You have out a D for us. What can you about this of?
I sent. I'm not sure which.
This one.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I can tell you. Dudes, and most people have heard about guy he is the Michael Johnson of man. He can sprint the word. All you see are dudes dropping, just dropping, and dude swinging, and he swings so much you can't hit him. What video game? It looked like a made up video game kind of a scenario. Who ate his hot dog was pissed. Let him do the for him.
Well, and thank you, as always, for finding it is there and that
Raph,
finish. I'll
tell you of the that trying so much, but video had no star man. Are so man. It's actually good material.
Is mark for this show, sir. So let's see. Why don't you walk us through this fight, sir?
So the fight's about to break out. There's hand one, and now my guy starts swinging, and he never stopped. There's one down. Let's see. Dude runs up. There's another man down. He's like, no, I'm going to stay on the outside. Tank top guy did not rush. There's another dude down. He gets back up, and dude gets off. Oh, look, I like how these guys come running in way at the end. Like way at the end, like I'm going to see what this is about. See if I can walk him off. I think he dropped 3 or 4 dudes in the span of about 12 seconds with just windmill punches. This guy is generating alternative energy with his arms just swinging. If we could harness that, we could give electricity to the whole state, man.
It's definitely some windmill technology right there. I do want to point this out. I have less about technique because he essentially makes that Tasmanian devil makes in Warner Brothers cartoons. Whereas, so like, I'll bypass that and get into my real expertise, which is production. First off, when we start this fight, all right, he gets the first hit, and it looks like it has caught that dude by surprise. The dude in glasses next to him was so shocked, he tries to ante up, figuring that dude's not doing anything. Literally goes off and says like, no, like shuts down like a computer. So he comes in, these guys start to brawl. Here's my production note. Who zooms out? Why are you zooming out when the action is here? What part of the story are we not getting? We get somebody sunbathing here. Is it to introduce a new character toward the end of this? No, you don't know that yet because they don't get out. They gingerly, if anything, make their way out. And now all the good stuff is very far away. And then they see the error of their ways. They start pinching in for that little bit of extra zoom here. And what I want to tell you is you see somebody go down and this camera work is not telling you how they went down. A widescreen version of this would have told the whole story. But let's pause here for the person who was sunbathing, who's now deep in thought as the fight's going on. Like, wow, interesting. As they continue to fight, he then feels the need to get up and involve himself. And dude from the sidelines came in. Now, let's talk some technique. Very small amounts because of the camera work that we can't see it. But nonetheless, we discussed this. I like that you can actually see like the sweat fly off people's faces here. Because that dude hit him and like sonic rings. That water just erupted out. Like bing. So that dude was carrying a lot of water in the hair region. Here, the fighting goes up, shoving. The Tasmanian devil engaged mode goes. One dude is down. Now the other dude's getting knocked down. There's some intricate, almost John Wick sort of towel work that's happening at the same time that I must acknowledge. But can we talk about the dude in these like light green shorts and the black tank top. Why are you putting arms in front of you crossed and doing nothing? Like, is this dude now realizing, like, I think he's got it on his own. He doesn't need my help. It's like you want to do something, but you don't want to get involved. And I got to tell you, if all of those guys are going down, your odds are pretty good you're not going to get hurt. Nonetheless, he's just chilling. And then guess what? He comes in and says, hey guys, please. He gets a decent waist lock, so I can give him that much appreciation. But look how easily he removes somebody in the situation. Literally, this dude has no defense for this. This is a dude who, if he was wrestling one of Tim's kids, would have gotten pinned the fastest anybody has ever seen. Nonetheless, I love the fact that he got carted away like he's an item at a convenience store that you got to lift and take to aisle 4. Nonetheless,
like he moved a plant. Yeah.
Tim, I don't know where you find, I don't know how. I can just tell you the amount of enjoyment I have is always supremely high. Before we sign out of here, guys, just a couple quick little things that we saw. We'll get to a couple of these comments, and I will acknowledge this. I saw what you guys were putting in there. Egg basically said this: I refuse to watch the Big Dan, etc. debate. Now, that's how much time Egg does not have. He doesn't even have to write all their names. Like, most people will just say Big Dan to Blast, Greg. Nah, he's like, et al. You know who we're talking about. I'm watching. And doesn't even just say the debate. He's like, Big Dan and the rest. Egghead is the reason why in the Gilligan's Island theme song, they just say, and the rest. They didn't have time to say the Professor and Marianne. They're just like, everybody on the island. So there is that. And it said, I really wanted to slip it in, innuendo everywhere. So that was you, Tim.
Welcome.
Yeah. It says the rematch league, which honestly, if I'm going to ever steal an idea, the rematch league is the way to go. Like, why call it any Bellator? Yeah, it's the rematch league. And the final comment here that said, it's like Major League back to the minors. Yes. And I will tell you, that is a number of different people over the years have come through this way. There's also one gallery photo that got sent to me, and I need some explanation on this. Tim, what am I looking at here? Like, what is this? You sent this to me as we're doing the show, which always makes me think like you're not given enough stuff. What am I looking at, sir?
What you're looking at is the character. I named him Don Janaher, and I competed in the Battle Royal down in Decatur with a neck brace on. That's a real. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I put one in my mouth and I smoked it. It stretched before the event, and I got to tell you, only a percent. And I know most dudes down in Decatur, about 80% of them did not recognize me. And they were looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy? I also had a bullhorn. I was yelling, and outside it was super loud too.
So you have experience in that format. What can you tell us about somebody who has done that, Tim? How did you make it?
I made it probably down to like the last 12 or 13. I'll tell you this, it goes fast. I had also brought a Coors Tall Boy that I was planning on cracking open and drinking midway through, like I was taking a break. I never got to it. The whole thing went down in like 3 minutes, and it was over. It went fast. I double teamed by, I believe it was some 10th Planet Atlanta teammates who one came up to me and I was like, no, you could beat other people up right now. We don't gotta like fight each other. Let's just go beat up some rando. Like, let's go. And he just shook his head like, no. And he got on top of me and we started grappling. And then his homie came up and attacked my legs. And so I started to defend my legs, and the other dude got on my back. And so I had a guy on my back while another guy was leg locking me. So I tapped. I had the necklace on the whole time. I just grappled in it. I constantly told people to be careful when they got close to me. Before I'm like, careful, like watch out, careful. It was great, man.
I have to say, commit up the wall for that. I watched that video. I remembered, I think being back and forth. I either saw it and said like, hey, or he sent it to me like, I hope you saw this. I was like, of course. I think I forgot you were involved, but it's because when you showed me the photo, I kind of put one and one together. And I was like, oh, that's right. Now I remember it, but I didn't remember how you eliminated or how far you went. I just know that I appreciate the commitment. Like I said, I feel like you have to do it like true Royal Rumble style where they do get walkout. Because I feel like everybody all at once is, you don't have enough time if you watch the Traders or Survivor, but more of the Traders, to form these alliances. Like, if the whole thing is 8 minutes, you got 1 second, if Matt, to really convince someone like, how about this guy?
Yeah.
Let's do it together. And you don't know. These survival games, you got to be able to like form an alliance, make arguments, get there. You literally have time to be like, that dude's big and a threat. Let's beat him up. And they have to say, you're right. Or they have to be like, I'm sorry, you're a threat. But I will ask this follow-up. And this is important to me. I realize it's the only time I get to ask this. Did rolling in the neck brace help? Because it's almost akin to a knee where you ask people like, oh, does that work for you? Did it work for you, Tim?
It did. It was a little cumbersome, but it made it trickier for people to grab my neck, to really grab it, because it's like a big piece of foam. And there's kind of like this, everyone should carry a neck brace with them. Everywhere you go, you should bring a neck brace, because as soon as you put that on, people use space. If you crowded, you go to a sports game, you need to, everyone gets out of the way. People don't bump you. They don't nudge you. They don't bother. They get the fuck out of the way. You're like an ambulance. Walking ambulance. When you come walking through the crowd, the C parts, man, like neck brace guy coming through. So I think that had a weird psychological impact on my opponent, where they're like, we saw him smoking, we saw him stretching, we saw him talking in the bullhorn, and he seems kind of have a really, you know, I want to right out.
Yeah, check. I did is line of considering them. My client here today has been off this reverse settlement, and us no less.
I love it.
Yeah, because Kevin's not here, so I can give you like out of 100 up in the and see, because
Got it.
game. I didn't know we could bring that. Use it. You email from my out that none. Oh, we actually have you the other real quick.
Yeah.
Please, you guys have opinions. The gap, there were people who were commentating and had our takes. This one you said, I use the approach in which students don't even know it's a jiu-jitsu class. Just lock 20 random people together in a room and see what happens. Hopefully, they eventually figure it out. Perry BJJ, top tier comment. The best part was they had to edit it, so you know that was pure out of that brain. That dude basically said, it's off the top of my dome. I just put out A+ content and then edit it later. Tim, what did this person say from Golden BJJ?
He said, this absolutely terrible. Crying, laughing emoji, crying, laughing. Brian, you got 3 of them. That's serious. 2 hours of Tom. Quote, I believe there's room for both of our approaches during class. Greg, quote, you're completely and that's okay.
You know, it reminds me of, in all the talk of SNL's 50-year anniversary coming up very soon, it reminds me of one of the episodes where I did a throwaway joke to Tim. I wasn't sure how it would go, but I go, Tim, you ignorant slut. And I didn't pass that by you, but I just knew you know what to do with it when I did do it. I felt like that was the long version of, oh, Tom, you ignorant slut. Like, that's what we're getting here, people. That kind of stuff. This final comment, Matt Appalachia, who says, would have been more productive to just drill for 2 hours than listen to this guy try to use big words. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't think that's wrong. I would tell you this, our last thought, the debate, just for I can appreciate a larger discussion on these themes. And I did very earlier mention this. I really coming to the point where everybody loves their stuff so much. There's an education part happen first. I think that we have to actually do interviews with these guys based off of the comments that we heard from the debate. And in order to make it actual thing to take away from, like an actual conversation, I think we ask them these hard questions. So I'm Greg, and I would ask him these questions, and I'm going to say, like, hey, Greg, you know, it does seem like you come off a little bit, not even condescending is the right word, perhaps, but I don't know if your words are matching your intentions on what you're meaning, because the internet is dismissing your point because of the tone and the way you're communicating it. And I don't know if that would be received well, but I feel an important thing to highlight, because anytime a message is getting dismayed by the communication, I think it's worth a discussion. I'm like, dude, I think there's some valuable things in ecological studies and approaches. It's still questionable on how well it works at a huge competitive level, which I think is the crux of Dan and Tom DeBlas's argument. But nonetheless, why are these people gravitating to it? And are they finding success? And for the love of God, can we just dismiss Kit Dale? Because Kit Dale literally shows up. If you say it 3 times, if you're drilling 3 times, Kit Dale shows up. That's exactly what happens. It's just, he shows up just to let you know, how else did I get my stuff in 4 years? I'm like, I don't know, Kit, you're super fucking too. Shit just worked for you. But I know I'm not Kit Dale. I just have always appreciated, like, that worked for you. Great. Awesome. Needs drilling to get a little bit of the concept, and then I like to play games, and then I like to give my students freedom to either drill if they're wrestlers and stay in that world because that's what they know, but I also welcome them. We're going to do this because my main takeaway as an instructor over the years is not every student has the same way to learn, and I feel the same thing for instructors, because not every instructor teaches the same way. They have also very different learning capabilities and ways that they do things. So I feel like we always go at the student like, oh, students learn differently. It's like, well, teachers teach differently. So at certain points, it's a matter of hopefully you get with the right teacher you like. There's just a lot of question marks. So anyway, that's my little note on it. Tim, would you like to tell the people where they can find you, sir?
Yes, sir. You can find me on your favorite social media platform in BJJ. If you're out in Nashville, come see us at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in Stockton, go see my partners at 10th Planet Stockton. It's great, Raph. I love doing this show. It's been a great week. Hopefully we have some exciting stuff happen over the next couple weeks that we can bring to the show and talk about, man.
Appreciate you, man. I mean, listen, dude. Nobody salivated more at the idea of coming on the show and doing a silly set of conversational things about a debate than this group of people. But I think it's because we have been doing this for such a long time that we've seen people have arguments before. This one gathered a lot of steam. We had feelings on it. And at our core, I think people who always go, I just wish it was a little better. Maybe this could have done this, or this could have done this. So at anything, maybe next time we get to moderate it, or we get a friend of ours who's really good at this to moderate it. But yeah, until next time, though. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you all as well. I'm going to go ahead and close this off. But to everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning into this week's installment of The Bullpen, a joint venture between the Grappling Hour and Inside BJJ. Yes, we have had a long discussion on all things about the debate, the PFL, GFL, PGF, GFC, NNC, like whatever these things are. We're literally, if it's got an acronym, we're probably talking about it. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and be sure to follow us. We'll be back next Friday with another installment of The Bullpen. Follow me over at the Grappling Hour on all major social media platforms. And yes, check me out tomorrow. I'll be doing a live fight companion for the Royal Rumble. We're going to be doing that out of Mama. So lots of fun there. In the meantime, friends, thank you again so much for watching along with us today. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you very, very soon. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.